In this knife talk video, we're looking at the Spyderco Matriarch 2, but also talking about it in regard to the Endura and Delica line. So the Matriarch 2 was designed by Spyderco, I think by, I guess it doesn't have the designer's mark on here, but I think it was designed by Sal Glesser, and it was designed as a self-defense knife, which, you know, it's pretty specifically designed for that. And I believe it was designed to be a good knife for if that's all you can have for self-defense, like in areas where you can't carry a firearm and things like that. Now, I don't carry a knife for self-defense. I already carry, several knives. I carry a traditional, I carry a modern knife. I usually have at least 2 on my keychain and 1 in my wallet, so I already have a lot of knives, and I don't really have any anticipation that I would need one for self-defense. So I don't really ever carry a knife for self-defense, but I thought I'd get this because it's definitely an interesting, different, kind of cool looking knife, even if it's not something that I'll be carrying. You can see here that it has a kind of an S-shaped or a double recurve blade. So there's some belly here, curve, and then it curves up real sharply and then back down real sharply. So it makes for a really kind of like a claw-like shape, definitely reminiscent of like a tiger claw or really any kind of like cat claw. And it's gonna, pull really well, obviously, with that tip sticking down like that. And it's a very pointy tip. I don't know if it'll focus, but yeah, it's very thin. So this knife is, just not really designed for utility work. If you, I'm sure you could open boxes because, again, it'd be good for pull cutting, but it's not designed for that, and the tip definitely is not designed to take any stresses. You can see that it's a full serrated blade, so, that'll tear through things really well. Would cut cardboard. Serrated blades are good for cardboard, but I'm just kind of trying to conceptualize it with how I would use this, and that's again why I don't think that I will keep this one. Just wanted to get it and check it out because I wouldn't have that many uses for it. But again, I think that this is a good blade design for what it's designed for. And especially because you have both the option of the spider hole, which, if you do train self-defense, any kind of martial arts or things, when you get entangled, sometimes you're not going to be able to use the Emerson wave. Sometimes there's just not space, or you're on the ground, or things like that. So it's good to have the spider hole. And in that kind of usage for self-defense, when you're entangled, the spider hole, I think, is far and away the best opening mechanism. And the reason for that is because when your thumb goes in there, you have control in both directions. So with a flipper, you can only flip it, and then once you've flipped it, if it doesn't open, you have to actually put your thumb on the blade, which can be dangerous, because there's nothing to catch. You might hit the edge. With a thumb stud, you can only push forward, which, is okay, but from the times that I have trained for using a knife in self-defense and stuff, I think that it would be or could be useful to be able to have a lot of control, have a lot of tactile feedback on where the blade is, and the spider hole does a good job of that. So I think that the spider hole is a really good opening system if you do want a knife for self-defense, but the wave is also nice. So if you're not familiar with the Emerson wave, what this does is that when you pull this knife out of your pocket, so you can picture it being like in your pocket like this, when you pull it out, this catches on your pocket and it opens as you pull it out of your pocket. So it's really the quickest way to deploy a folding knife blade, definitely quicker than traditional slip joint, 2-hand opening, obviously, quicker than the spider hole because you have to reach in, and once it's out, you have to open it, and even quicker than an automatic because, again, you have to take an automatic knife out, then hit the button. This, you just pull it out, and it opens. Now, this has a back lock, and I'm not sure that the back lock is the best locking system for an Emerson wave opening knife. I think that it was an Endura, maybe, which they make an Endura with the Emerson Wave, and I opened it really hard, or I waved it open really hard, and it bounced off of the lock bar and didn't lock. Thankfully, I didn't cut myself, but I think that it can bounce off of that. Now, that's true for any locking system because, a frame lock or a liner lock has a pin that it has to hit back there. But I think that the frame lock, because when you open it and grip it, it's going to be holding the lock closed, is probably a slightly better lock mechanism for an Emerson Wave opening knife. But all Spyderco back locks are really well done. This is going to stay locked. It doesn't have any blade play in any direction or anything. This hasn't been used or carried. I just got this, but comes no blade play. This one isn't drop closed. You can shake it closed, but it is smooth to open. But I have found that knives that are coated, so this has a DLC coating, tend to take longer to break in and start out a little less smooth than knives that are not coated. And that's because, not for all, but for a lot of production knives, a couple Spydercos I've had and a ZT that was coated that I had, they do coat the tang of the knife, so where it's riding on the pivot on the washers, it has the coating, which is a little bit rougher than the steel, so it can just make it take a little longer to break in. But kind of moving on to one reason why I wanted to make a long style video on this is the handle. So this is the shape of an Endura 4 handle, exactly. So everything's the same. It has this bidirectional FRN injected pattern, and I really like that pattern. I think that this is a great pattern to add some traction to a knife, really locks your hand in because of how this pattern is, without adding a lot of cost. So this, it's injected plastic, so it's not a high cost thing, but it's really utilitarian. It really is practical in the sense that it does what a lot of other more expensive handle materials like G10 or carbon fiber are trying to do in being grippy but light. Now, on the inside, it has skeletonized liners. You can probably see those just a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Has them pretty much the full length, which is somewhat unnecessary, but I think because this is FRN, it adds some strength. And the only difference here on the inside is that, like I said, there's a little blade well right here where the tip sits down into, because as you see, when you close this knife, that tip is all the way down here, which normally there's backspacer there. But I'd really like the Endura and Delica line. Just this right here, this little area makes this handle confused for me. And what I mean by that is when you grip this knife, this is pretty pronounced. It's a pretty serious ridge. You either have to put your middle finger in that area, and when you do that, you notice that there's a lot of space between my index finger and the guard, or you have to put your ring finger in that, which makes my index finger and middle finger be really cramped in this area right here. So this is something that, not a huge deal. If this was, if I didn't have other knives that I could carry, then I would probably be able to buy an Endura and not, worry about it that much. But it just, when you take the knife out of your pocket, I don't know which one I should hold it, which grip I should hold it with. Now I think for most people that's probably not a problem. My fingers are kind of wide, so I think most people probably grip it like this and aren't worried about that. It's not even terrible for me, but again, it just confuses it, I would say. It makes me think, oh wait, I should grip it like this. Oh no, I should grip it like this. So that's why I've never kept any of the Enduras or Delicas that I've had, because the Endura handle is this, has the ridge. The Delica handle just cut down a little bit. Still has the same area here like this and the same area here like this, just cuts the butt end down a little bit. So the Endura and Delica are classic knives. They're really great, really high value. There's been a lot of different kinds. They have a saber ground, full flat ground, serrated, partially serrated, Emerson, different steels, all kinds of stuff. I just really wish that they would make the handle simpler. I've even talked to custom handle makers about making G10 handles that basically just cut that out. So instead of having those two ridges, just a smooth handle. And that would be, I talk a lot about how simple handles are ergonomic. It wouldn't get any more ergonomic than that. I don't see how these really add anything. I mean, maybe if somebody pulled it out of your hand or something, these help you grip onto it a little bit, but I don't really think that they do. I think that they are a totally unnecessary addition to a handle that could be really about as good as it gets. The bidirectional texturing accomplishes the only thing that these could possibly add or help with, so they're totally unnecessary. I really, really wish that Spyderco would make this just a smooth handle so you can grip it wherever and however you like, and then leave the traction up to the really, really great, well done bidirectional pattern that they have on this. Again, I still have considered getting custom G10 handles made that don't have these ridges, but again, then I would lose this really great bidirectional texturing, which I think is a big plus for these FRN handled Spydercos. So that's kind of my thoughts on the Endura and Delica handles. I really, really wish if they do an Endura and Delica 5, I really hope that they take those ridges off. Kind of doubt they will, but they could. I mean, the earlier models had less pronounced ridges there. So that's another reason I wanted to make this video. Again, it's a cool knife, very, I would say, specifically and probably well designed for what it's designed for, self-defense. But also just to talk about why I don't have a Delica or Endura. I might get one loaned from a friend and do a video on them, but it's just because that I think that this handle is confusing or confused just because of these two really unnecessary ridges. But otherwise, the Endura and Delicas are really great knives, and the Spyderco Matriarch 2 is a really well-designed, very different knife for kind of a specific purpose. So if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, and if you have any comments or questions, leave them below. I like to see those. And I've got lots of other 1-minute overviews and knife talk videos coming up. So if you subscribe, you'll get notifications when I post those, so please do. And don't forget to go out and do good.